Let me go have a look and see if we're actually live. We also have audience joining over here on Zoom. So thank you everyone for joining us on time and hope you're keeping well and staying safe. So we are going to take 1 to 2 minutes so that everyone else will be joining in. So people who are watching us live, please introduce yourself in the chat and let us know what part of your country you're from and what you working as, which company you're working with, and what are you so much excited for this webinar today. And we'll just take 2 more minutes so that people can join in and we can get started as soon as possible. And people who are joining us on Zoom, please introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know where you're from, which part of the country you're from, and what are your questions and what are you excited about this webinar. Okay, Sumit, I think we are live and we have a good number of audience watching us on LinkedIn and also Zoom. So let's get started. And guys, let me know if you are not understanding anything and let me know if you're having any problem with the audio or the presentation that we're having going forward. So let's get started. Hello and welcome everyone. Hope you're keeping well and staying safe. This is Hafsa Anjum and I am working as a community executive at Recro when we are working towards building an exclusive community for developers to help you get connected with like-minded people, build your network and grow professionally. So those who don't know about what Recro is, it is a developer-focused platform helping developers to meet the right opportunity by connecting them with fast-growing startups such as PureFit, Dance, Danzo, etc. So welcome to Recro Talks again. And today we have a very interesting topic. And the topic for today is leverage Chat GPT for software development and DevOps, which literally saves us 100 hours of work. And our guest speaker for today is Sumit Jain. He's a VP of Technology at Milkman. And he has over 9+ years of experience in the software industry with a diverse range of skills across multiple domains. Throughout his career, he's gained experience in various areas such as backend development, front-end infrastructure, and security, and DevOps. And he worked with a range of technology tools and programming languages, which has helped him to be a well-rounded with the skill set. And thank you so much for joining us. You may go ahead and say hi to the audience.
Thank you. Thank you, Afsa, for introducing. And hi, everyone. Thank you for joining. And really excited to cover this topic among you all. And I hope I'm visible and the audio is clear.
So before we get started, Sumit, I have few announcements to make. For the audience, so people who are joining us on Zoom, please make sure that you ask the questions in the Q&A tab and not the chat box, because we might miss your questions because chat box is for the informal conversations. And for the people who are joining us on LinkedIn and YouTube, please post your questions in the chat of the live LinkedIn chat and live YouTube chat. I'll pick up the questions and make sure that our speaker is answering each and every question of yours. So please don't shy away from asking questions. Post your queries and let us know what is your experience from our webinar. So yeah, I think we can get started.
All right. So let me just quickly start and share my screen.
Yeah.
Okay. So Hafsa, you need to enable the participant screen sharing or make me a co-host. Hafsa, you need to make me a co-host for sharing the screen.
Yeah, can you see right now? I think we'll be able to share the screen right now. Guys, let us know if you're able to see the screen or not in the chat. Yeah.
Is it visible now? So now it's visible. All right, perfect. I'll quickly start then. So, so this is a very interesting topic, and I also enjoyed a lot while I was preparing for this one. And we all know about Chat GPT. We are very much intrigued and excited how it has changed the way we, we work in our daily lives, and not just engineering, but in every other field in our world or in India itself, right? So over here today, we are going to talk about some basics. So before talking in detail about software development or DevOps, I would cover a few things about ChatGPT so that we all are on same page. I also made mistakes while I was going through ChatGPT in last couple of months, understanding the basic concepts because it's something new and the hype has been all around. And then it tends to create confusions or maybe not understanding the basics clearly. So I'll cover that as well. And then we'll talk about software development and DevOps. And while we'll be covering about software development and DevOps, we'll also go through a practical sessions or practical hands-on on the ChatGPT itself. All right. So here's what we are going to learn. We are going to learn what is ChatGPT, key features, what is OpenAI, what is the difference between ChatGPT and GPT, unleashing the automated software code generation and enhancing efficiency through ChatGPT's automation capabilities, how ChatGPT can improve documentation creation, maintenance process, and then how can we leverage ChatGPT for DevOps workflows. Now, what is ChatGPT? So you can think of ChatGPT as someone, a person who has all the knowledge from various different fields, not just engineering, but all the different fields in the world till September 2021, because that's the cutoff time. And it has provided us, the consumers, a chat interface, like a chat box, like a message box, where we can ask questions and it gives information based on that knowledge base. So it is based on AI and natural language processing. Now, if we talk about technically speaking, ChatGPT is a language model. Who developed this? Who's the brain or what company or which company developed this? So this is developed by OpenAI. So OpenAI is not an AI, it's a company, an organization, a research based or research company which is very heavily involved in doing researches. Right? So it is part of the ChatGPT is part of the GPT family of models. Now, what is GPT? Generative pre-trained transformer. So this is a kind of a language model. And GPT and ChatGPT is designed to engage in natural language conversation. So what is meant by natural language? So just like you and me, or you will talk to any other person naturally. For example, hey, Saurabh, do you know what is Python? Like now, if you ask this question to ChatGPT, just like I asked this question to someone who knows about Python, the answer tends to be very much relevant to me as a human. So that's why it is part of and it is designed to engage in natural language conversation with just like humans. Now, ChatGPT is powered by OpenAI's GPT 3.5 architecture as of now, which is an advanced version of the previous one, which was GPT-3 model. So similarly, I'll take an analogy over here. When iPhone was launched, it was iPhone 1, the first version of iPhone. When Android was launched, the first version of Android. Similarly, when GPT came in picture, it was launched as GPT-1. And then GPT-1, GPT-2, GPT-3. Similarly, how we have 1+1 phone, 1+2, 1+3, 1+6, and 9 and 10, right? So GPT was also launched as 1, a first version of GPT, then 2, 3, and now we have even 4. So GPT-4 is also now developed and live. So GPT-3, so there was a massive jump from 3 and 3.2 and 3, in fact. So GPT-2 and 3, there was a massive jump. And currently GPT 3.5 includes 175 billion parameter. So this says it has a lot of information which we can't even imagine because this number is so huge. And that's why it makes it one of the largest language model ever created. And then with this immense size, ChatGPT is capable of understanding context it can understand context. So what is meant by context? For example, two software engineers are discussing about Python. Let's say the first question was, hey, what is Python? The other person gives an answer. Now, if it says who developed it, right? We are not saying who developed Python. The other person asks the question, who developed it? So there, the context, both the people understand the context, that the context is talking about Python. So the answer comes in, okay, Python was developed by so and so person, right? Got to understand. So ChatGPT is capable of understanding context, then generating responses and performing other wide range of natural language tasks. Now, when this ChatGPT was launched, this was launched very recently, 30th November 2022, and this has been a big hit in the software engineering world, especially hitting 1.1 million users in just 5 days. What are the key features of GPT or ChatGPT? So conversational AI, as we discussed, that we can do conversations, just like we do with other person or a human being. So it is designed to have back and forth conversations with the users. It can understand and respond to user inputs. Now, we'll talk about how we can input, how we can provide input, and making it suitable for any chatbot application. For example, let's take an example of, let's say, an e-commerce application. Now, you made an order. You have not received your order yet. So now you can go to a chat application provided by Zomato, let's say, which is being powered by GPT scenes. You can chat, okay, hey, where's my order? Why it has not reached me yet, etc., etc. So it is very much suitable for chatbot applications, virtual assistants, and interactive systems. The second key feature is multimodal capability. So what is meant by multimodal? So you can interact with GPT using text, images, so that there are multiple various models of interaction and not just only text. Then general purpose AI. So a chat GPT is very powerful and general purpose language model. Now, what is meant by general purpose? So you can use it for anything and not specifically focus on one thing. That's why it's called general purpose. So it can be used for various applications and various fields as well. Text completion, summarization, translation, question answering, and much more. So for example, you have a paragraph, or let's say you have an article. You provide that article to GPT and ask it to summarize it. It can easily summarize that article for you in a few statements or few sentences. Translation, we can provide any text in any language and we can ask it to translate. Right. Now, zero shot and few shot learning. So GPT and Chat GPT can perform tasks without any specific training. So for example, it is available for everyone to use on the OpenAI website. And without any training, we do not have to train Chat GPT for our purpose. It is already trained and we can use it without any specific training. There is obviously option given by OpenAI that you can provide, if you, let's say you are an organization, you are a company, for example, again, an e-commerce company, you can provide your specific data to GPT and train it for your specific use cases as well. So that's few shot learning allows the model to adapt to new tasks with minimal examples. So we discussed initially that Chat GPT or GPT is built by OpenAI. So let's talk about a bit about OpenAI. So OpenAI is an artificial intelligence research laboratory and technology company, which is focused on developing and promoting artificial intelligence and artificial general intelligence for the benefit of humanity. So originally, Elon Musk and Sam Altman started this because they had a fear that as more and more companies and more people in the world are working on AI, people can build few things which can eventually hurt the human ecosystem or humans. So they started this initiative where Elon Musk put in the initial requirement of funds, etc., to do that research and build models, which eventually led to GPT and GPT-3 and 3.5. So they started building it, and that's why it's open source, and hence the name OpenAI. It's open source. They want to put out everything for everyone to use, but use it in a way that it benefits humans and not the opposite way. So it was founded in 2015, and you can see that they had been working from 2015 to 2022 just on research and making it sure that it eventually is kind of a perfect model on top of which other companies and users can benefit upon it. So it has been founded in 2015 with the mission to ensure that general intelligence benefits all of humanity. And the company aims to build safe and beneficial AI systems. They conduct cutting-edge AI research and drive the responsible deployment of AI technologies. So Sam Altman is the CEO, Meera Murati is the CTO, and then there are other bunch of folks who have been doing research, a lot of research in the AI field. So, so I hope this clears the ground that what is OpenAI, what is Chat GPT, and how it came into existence right from the scratch. Now, we just discussed that it is kind of a language model. Now, what is a language model? For example, in general software engineering, the base starts from a language, right? So, for example, if you have to do software engineering, you need one language, maybe Python, C, Java, etc., right? And then you move up the stack, then libraries, then frameworks,
I guess there's some technical issues from Sumit's side, guys. So just bear for like 1 minute. Yeah, he'll be there in 1 minute. Just technical issue. Yeah, he's back. Yes.
Yeah, sorry, folks, there was a power cut.
Yeah.
I'll again share my screen. It's visible now. All right, cool. Right. So as software engineers, when we talk about software engineering or talk about building any program or an application, we talk about the basics, right, which is a language, right? Similarly, in the field of machine learning, the base or the basic thing is a language model. So what is language model? A language model is a type of artificial intelligence model that is trained to understand and generate human language. So consider a program to which you have fed a lot of data, lot of past articles, a lot of conversations happening around the world, and then it is trained to understand that and respond to questions that anyone should ask or anyone might ask, right? So it is a very fundamental concept of natural language processing systems, and it is used to process, understand, and generate text-based data, right? And there are multiple language models in the world, which is a very common type is N-gram model. We are not going to discuss about in detail, but just to give a base and an entry point for everyone. So the basic common type is N-gram model. There are other language models as well, for example, gram, bigram, epigram. And then recently, some advanced language models have been developed, such as GPT. So OpenAI built GPT, which is again a language model. Language models have existed in the past. It's just that GPT has been trained on very large data around the world. So that's what differentiates GPT from other language models, which has been there in the past from many years. So now what is the application of language models? As we discussed, so text completion. So you suggest or you give a certain sentence which is incomplete and it can help you in completing the sentence. For example, you can provide a code and it can help you in extending that code as per your requirement. Language translations, sentiment analysis, So sentiment analysis, for example, you give a sentence and you want to understand whether the sentence is a positive one, a negative one, or a neutral one. And sentiment analysis used a lot in support in any website or any company. For example, an e-commerce company. As you are chatting with the agent, the software behind that agent can understand whether you as a consumer is angry or is happy and your sentiments, and then it can provide you with relevant help and the next steps. Then speech recognition, text summarization, and text. So majorly around text, right? Now, what is GPT? So GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. It is a family of language models developed by OpenAI. And it obviously, the development began with 1 and followed by 2 and 3. And each version has been more powerful and capable than its predecessor. And the latest version is one of the largest model ever created with 175 billion parameters, as we discussed. And it has demonstrated exceptional performance in a wide range of natural language processing tasks, and capabilities have sparked, obviously, significant interest and discussion in the AI community. Now, let's understand the difference between Chat GPT and GPT. I hope so. This was quite an interesting piece of knowledge when I started reading about GPT and Chat GPT. So Chat GPT is an app, whereas GPT is the brain behind that app. A similar analogy could be Amazon is an app, Android is the brain behind or the platform on top of which Amazon Android applications built. So Android is available to everyone. Amazon Android application is there, Zomato Android application is there. Similarly, GPT is available for everyone, either free or paid, whatever the pricing OpenAI sets. And you can build various applications on top of it. So OpenAI built GPT and ChatGPT both. But you can also, and any company can also build their own applications on top of GPT. Another analogy could be a processor. For example, Intel builds processor, right? And on top of that, and using that processor, Dell has built laptops, Apple has built laptops, right? Lenovo has built laptops. So that's what is the major difference between ChatGPT and GPT. Now, can we use GPT? Yes, APIs are available. OpenAI provides those APIs on a paid basis, and we can use those APIs to build our own applications in any UI, any format we want. So GPT-3 has been trained on terabytes of internet data that gives AI applications the ability to generate text, right? And they are, again, as said, some of the largest neural network model and has 175 billion parameters. Chat GPT is an AI chatbot that uses GPT language model to interact with humans in a conversational way, right? And it is optimized to work or to understand human context, or how we as consumers interact with any application. And the free version, there's a free version available as well of Chat GPT. Similarly, for example, any game, right? You can play a free game, but then it has for example, let's say Zomato. So Zomato is free, right? You can order, you can use it for free, but it has Zomato Plus membership as well, which you can use to get more benefits. Similarly, ChatGPT is free, but there's ChatGPT Plus as well, which you can use to get more benefits, right? So if we revisit the analogy, we think of ChatGPT as a Dell computer and GPT as the Intel processor that powers it. And different computers can run on Intel processors in much the same way. Other AI applications can also be built on ChatGPT or GPT-4. Now, we'll just do a quick walkthrough of OpenAI.com. So is the OpenAI website visible for everyone? Okay, perfect. Thank you, Saurabh. So if you'll see, this, what they say, right? That their work is to create safe and beneficial AI that requires deep understanding of potential risk, benefits, etc., etc. Then they do a lot of research. They have a lot of products, and GPT is not the only product. They have other products as well, right? Then obviously you can apply for working at OpenAI as well. Now let's deep dive into the products, right? So one of the product They have APIs, as we discussed. They have APIs which they have opened for everyone. It is on paid basis. Then they have models. So GPT is one model. GPT-4 is their latest model, as compared to GPT 3.5 and 3, etc. Right? Then they're showing some usage of GPT-4. For example, here's what the input that you can provide, and here's the output that GPT provides you. And Chat GPT, using Chat GPT, you can access GPT directly without writing any code. You can use GPT by using Chat GPT application. Then another and a quite famous product of OpenAI is DALL-E. So DALL-E, using DALL-E, you can create images just by providing text. For example, an astronaut, hey, I need an image of an astronaut riding a horse in a photorealistic style. That can provide you an image, right? So that's what DALL-E is. You can also use it for generating your or building your own application. Another product is Whisper, which you can provide a audio and it can generate a transcript. So there are a lot of companies that are coming up using Whisper. So one of the company which I know of is what they do. They have built a interview taking platform where obviously interviewer and the candidate comes and has that interview, and Whisper can record that audio and at the end can generate a transcript of their interview. So there is no need of a third person taking any notes or even the interview taking any notes. The AI system can listen to that audio in the whole interview round and can generate transcript. And then if you want, as a developer, if you want to leverage, build your own applications, you can read through you can use their APIs. We need to first obviously log in. I have to check the password. Just give a minute. Let me put in my password. Yeah. So you can start with a quick start tutorial with them. So for example, if I need an answer to this question, suggest one name for a horse. Now, I do not have credits right now, but once you buy the credits, you can use these APIs over here. So you can, if you're building a Node application, you can install Node. They have Node library as well. They have Python library as well. You can see in the libraries. For example, they provide a Python library, OpenAI. You can easily install using pip. Then you have a Node.js library as well, which OpenAI directly provides, and you can integrate GPT in your product. So, for example, in Python, you can install OpenAI. You generate the key, which is very standard way of using any third-party product as a software engineer, and then you can use their classes and then functions to get any content or any answer. And they have multiple, as we said, they have multiple classes. For example, completion, getting an answer, refactoring, etc., etc. And then there are other libraries as well, which have been built by communities. So, for example, Go. So this library is built by someone, Sasha Baranov, and it's a community. As a community, they've built this Go OpenAI library. So be it any language, it is available for Darshan. Any example? What kind of example you're referring to? Can you please explain? right? All right. Okay. All right. Sure. So, for example, you want to build a chat bot for which any e-commerce company can integrate. So, what you will do, you will build a project. You'll build a project. It can be using Django or Node.js or anything. You can use GPT APIs, and you let's take an example of any other thing. For example, you want to build a edutech or an edtech company or a startup, right, or an application. Instead of so ChatGPT provides you two things: one, a search box, and a history of your questions and history of your questions, right? That's all ChatGPT provides as a free version. Now, let's say you want to extend that application and you want to provide much more features. So what you can do, you can build your own app behind the scene, use APIs for ChatGPT provided by ChatGPT. You have your own pricing model, which users can pay to you, and you pay to GPT on the API usage. But you give much more features as compared to ChatGPT, right? So, for example, you can even store answers. You can store files. You can give like direct downloads of files or PDF. Uh, so you can extend the capabilities of ChatGPT and make your own website or AP or app. So this is one example how you can leverage APIs provided by GPT, and people can use your app instead of ChatGPT, right? So and it's open source, so it's allowed. You are paying definitely for the APIs. Hope that answers. So now we'll go back to our presentation. Now let's move to the how we can use GPT and ChatGPT for automated code generation. So it's a very simple three-step process. Whenever you want to write code, it's a very simple three-step process. You choose a programming language. So when you're working, you obviously know which programming language you're working with. So while you are asking any question with ChatGPT, it's better to specify what language or what programming language you want the answer for. And then you provide a prompt. Now, prompt is basically the question, what you need, right? The question is a description of the code you want to generate, and it should be written in a natural language, which how you will talk to some other person or your peer or your friend, right? For example, you want to generate a code that sort an array of integers, and your prompt could be write a function that sorts an array of integers in ascending order. So here you can see that you've provided the requirements very clearly, that we want a function to sort an array of integers in ascending order. If you do not provide, let's say in ascending order, ChatGPT probably would give you some default answer. And then if you want in ascending, you can obviously then question again or provide more information. And then the ChatGPT provides you the code, which you can copy in your and then paste in your project, or you can tweak as per your own needs, or you want to do any modifications. So we'll see some examples which are there, which are in the presentation. We'll also go back to ChatGPT and run through in real time. So, for example, I want to write a function in Python to generate a unique order ID for an e-commerce system. So you might know, right, that in an e-commerce system, when you make an order, a unique order ID gets generated, right? So I as a software developer, let's say I'm working on that e-commerce system, I want to generate a unique order ID so that it always generates a unique order ID for every order. And here's the response of ChatGPT to generate an unique order ID for an e-commerce system in Python. You can use a combination of current timestamp and a random number of UUID, or a number or UUID, and then it gives you the sample function. And you can see how neatly it gives you the code. It shows you the import files you have to import. It even puts down the comments for you, so that you as a developer can really understand the code ChatGPT is providing. And it also gives you options to test this function, so that even before integrating this code in your main project, you can create this as an independent file and test through it, run those two things. And then it gives you a copy code CTA or a button. You can copy this and paste it in your project. And then you can obviously change as per your own liking. So in this, and the best part is it also explains what it has generated. So you use it, it has explained everything, right? In this function, we use the UID module to generate a random UID and the time module to get the current timestamp in milliseconds. See the depth and the detail of the explanations, right? It is not leaving up to you to understand yourself, right? It is giving you each and every minute detail as well. By combining the timestamp and the UID to create a unique order ID, it is highly unlikely to be duplicated. And then it gives you suggestions as well. That please note that this approach provides you a good level of uniqueness for most purposes, but it might not be entirely unique in case of extremely high concurrency. So it gives you a nudge or information about that what is it right now and how it can be improved upon, right? So in case of extremely high concurrency or distributed systems, in such cases, you may consider using more advanced techniques like distributed databases or atomic counters to guarantee uniqueness. Now, what is happening over here? Now, let's say you as a software engineer had no idea about how to generate a unique order ID. Now, it gave you some code as a starter, as a base, right, which you can use to leverage and build upon it. And it also gave you the next steps and some other terminologies, some other concepts, so that you can do next steps as well. Now, it is so the other way it could have been developed or can be built that it just provided the code and it does not provide you any guidance, any suggestion, or these other technologies names, for example, atomic counters or distributed database. So as a developer, your learning could have stopped there, right? Because you might not have heard of distributed database or atomic counters. But since it provides you these nudges or these extra information as well, it helps you to take this whole exercise even further, right? Now, for example, if I ask Chat GPT, please show me some more advanced techniques, right? So it understands the context that we are talking about generating order ID for an e-commerce system. And then it again gives you more details on those advanced techniques. For example, using a distributed counter, and even gives you the whole code on now how we can use Redis for writing the same function or doing the same thing, but now using more advanced techniques. So it literally is, that's why it is very intelligent, because it does not stop only what you are asking. It also helps you as a software engineer to take it next level, right? And that's what I like the most about Chat GPT as compared to general internet. For example, we can obviously find all these things on general internet, in some articles on Medium or DigitalOcean, etc. But then it really depends on the person who has written those articles. If that person had this kind of mindset, which now ChatGPT has, that person might have mentioned about other advanced techniques, but it's not necessarily true always, right? But ChatGPT, there is an edge with ChatGPT as compared to those articles. And that's what has been my experience, my personal experience using ChatGPT as compared to other general articles available out there. Now, how can we improve documentation creation and maintenance process as a software engineer? Now, before moving to this part of the presentation, I believe we'll get back to the practical in real time on ChatGPT at the later stage. Let's just walk through this part of the presentation. So now, in the same context, the question or the prompt that I gave to ChatGPT, hey, please write a documentation for the above solution. Because as a software engineer, apart from writing code, you also are expected to prepare documents so that other peers and other software engineers can understand what you've written, right? And it gave me everything: a title, all the steps. Even you can see the headings are bold as well, right? Introduction, installation, everything. And what I did, I simply copied this and went to Google Docs or whatever. For example, if you use Confluence in your company, you can open that, copy pasted it, did some tweaking around the look and feel, right? For example, made this blue color, made this as a heading one. This is again a heading one. You can see on the left panel, we have all the index, then made this as a code block, these two statements, This is also a code block. You have all the comments, right? And for example, this is how it got pasted. And what I did was just let this out, adding one, bold, blue, speed of tweaking, and we have a good looking documentation available in like just few minutes, which you can show to your manager or to your peers, and everyone would like this documentation. So you see how easy it is as a developer to do away with these tasks and really complete your project. So, and then you can now download it in PDF or share it with us. I'll go back to my presentation. Yeah. Now, the next piece in software development, where ChatGPT has helped me a lot personally and have seen my team members using ChatGPT for, is debugging. Now, you have a code which maybe you have written or maybe someone else has written. So debugging is quite painful, and I've seen most of the software engineers really crib about like debugging, especially in someone else's code. So it helps you a lot in that as well. Now, taking through the same example, for example, I asked ChatGPT, can you help me in finding error in this code? And then I pasted the code. That's it, right? And it immediately noticed a couple of issues in the provided code. For example, it has missing semicolon, missing colon, and indentation as well. So you can see the power of ChatGPT that instead of actual logical errors, it is also able to understand the indentation, the style of Python language, right? And how a Python code is written. And then it gives you the corrected version of the code. And again, as usual, it also explains that code which is written, right? Again, I gave another sample of the code. Now, in the previous sample, you'll notice that the code had an import statement, but now in this example, it does not have an import statement. So again, it detected an error that it is missing a column, but it is still not running, right? So I asked ChatGPT, am I missing an import? And again, it gives the perfect answer that yes, there is an input statement missing, and this is how you would add to it. And again, the description or the suggestions, etc. Third portion of software development is code refactoring. Very important part of our day-to-day software engineering lives, because we do not refactor a code after a certain time, it will be a mess, right? And it can become a mess. So now, taking the same example through, this is what I asked ChatGPT. Our Python function is quite simple, and I want you to help it making it complex, right? And it again helps me with that because it understands other ways as well to write that piece of code. In contrast to, let's say, if you're learning through an article, that article would have only certain ways, and you cannot ask the author immediately, hey, I need some more ways to write the code that you've just provided in an article. And that's where the real power of ChatGPT is, right, as compared to general internet. So it helped me the complex ways, or to make the simple order ID process to make it more complex, right? So now it says you can use a custom epoch time, you can use a machine identifier, you can use add a sequence number, you can apply a hashing algorithm. And here the code, that small piece of code is now such a big piece of code now, and much more advanced, which you can really use to impress your folks and peers and your manager too, and really create a good order ID generator over here. And this, it has again again, the details that we have to calculate the ID generation logic within the order ID generation class. Now you see, it not only extended the function, now because you're asking it to make it complex, it took the software engineering practices to next level. Because now you need multiple functions, then it made a class and did everything like a software engineer would do, right? Whereas if it would have not been this intelligent, it would just have extended the function, right? So that's again a very good example on how advanced and intelligent ChatGPT is. So it generated a class where you have a constructor, we are taking a machine ID in the constructor, and then a whole other logic that um, this output provides. Now, a very important, and I asked this with and I discuss it with everyone whom I discuss this topic of ChatGPT, that should you code with ChatGPT, right? So just because you can write code in ChatGPT or using ChatGPT, does that mean you should use it continuously? So there are multiple opinions and arguments around this. So on the one hand, people argue that using an AI tool to write code can make you lazy and unable to think yourself. On the other hand, folks says that leveraging ChatGPT can make you a faster programmer, right? Freeing up your time to focus on important things like system design, architecture, best practices, business requirements. And both the parties are right. And if I give you an analogy, right? For example, if you drive a car, it makes you lazy. Yes. If you never walk or never do any exercise or never maybe ride a bicycle, but is riding a car bad? No, it depends on you how you're using it, right? So ChatGPT is a tool, or GPT is a tool that is out there. Just like we use phones, just like we use laptops. Does it harm us? Maybe yes, if you overdo it. But it also helps you in in maybe in earning more or maybe getting more knowledge. So it's really a question of how you use it or how you use a certain technology. And it's not just around ChatGPT or GPT, right? So you have to use GPT. For example, I personally have not used, I didn't use any IDE in 8 years of my career. And last year only, I started using Visual Studio Code for writing code. I always use just Sublime Text with a basic plugin, which helps me in jumping through functions by click on that function name. That's it. Because I am also a firm believer that the more you get your hands dirty, the more you are able to learn and remember those things, right? Whereas today IDs are quite powerful with code completion and everything. So I have been on the latter side of this whole argument, but I use certain parts of AI tools or code completion or Git Copilot or Visual Studio, etc., to make certain redundant parts better. But initially, I relied just on a plain ID. And today also I use Vim a lot, and it's pure CLI, right? No AI, nothing around completion, etc. So I balance out where I need to learn, keep on my learning, and where I need redundant tasks to be completed quickly. So that's really up to you on how you use it. So you can have a lot of pros and cons around using ChatGPT. Yes, no. So it helps you obviously getting the syntax right, potential saving, time chasing, compile time, runtime errors that we humans can introduce if we are coding from scratch. It is able to get introduced to some alternative ways of doing things, and that is very powerful. So the third pro is very powerful because if let's say I'm writing some code using Python, I can simply ask ChatGPT, is there a better way to generate order ID for a highly concurrent traffic using Go? Because we know Go is able to handle concurrent traffic much better than Python. So asking those questions, which we come across on our daily lives as software engineers, because there's a lot of technologies out there, that's where we should use a lot because it helps you in giving much more information and in a very quick manner, right? Which says alternatives doing things that you wouldn't have thought of otherwise. And it obviously makes it faster and easier to learn new languages and concepts. The cons, obviously, it is not 100% correct all the time. That's where you have to use your own brain and your experience. And that's why I believe GPT cannot easily replace every programmer or every engineer. because it is an helping tool, just like Visual IDE, Visual Studio Code, or Sublime, or maybe any other piece of tool. It is there to help you in making your progress way faster than it is currently. And if you use it well and if you use it right, it would be a helpful tool to you, a right hand for you, right? The major thing which ChatGPT lacks is the overall context for what you're building. So it understands, for example, if I write to ChatGPT, hey, build me a Django project, build me a payment gateway like Razorpay. It cannot do that because it is very complex to do, right? And that's where an engineer comes in picture. Engineer understands the base, all the moving parts of payment gateway, building individual components, then taking help with ChatGPT, building those components. That's what an engineer do, or that's what a software engineer do, right? So it does not know how that code will interact with other code. It does not understand the requirements around performance, security, privacy, accessibility, etc., etc. Right? So again, as human, we are ultimately responsible for the code that we ship. Now, as the last part, we'll talk about DevOps. Now, I hope all the things that we discussed so far, the base is clear that whatever you want to learn, whatever you want to know, just ask in a very simple statements from ChatGPT, on ChatGPT or using APIs. Now, how can we use for DevOps? So, very basic things. First, not just DevOps, but everything. Use it for research and learning purpose. And you can, few examples I've shown over here. For example, generate configuration code for, not sure how many DevOps engineers are here today on the call, but if there are any, you know that there are a lot of configuration code that we have to build as DevOps engineers. For example, Docker file, Kubernetes manifest file, GitHub Action CI/CD pipelines, or Jenkins CI/CD pipelines, etc. Now we'll quickly open up ChatGPT and then we'll see some real examples. I'll share my other screen now. So for example, I need a Docker file. Let's say I'm working on a Django project and I need a Docker file for a Django project. And if you'll see, it gives you a sample Docker file for a Django project. This assumes that you have a Django project structured in a way that it allows to run within a Docker container. So it gives you some prerequisites, or so that you do not assume that it will work straight away. If these assumptions are in place, then only it will run. And then it gives you the whole code. And it gives you all the code with comments as well. That's one of the most powerful things. Right? And then it again gives you the whole guidelines and everything, that make sure to place this Docker file in the root directory of your project, in the same directory of requirements.txt. It also gives you connection with other parts of your Django project that contains all the required Python packages. This will be for development purposes. For production, you might need additional optimizations as production ready web server, like Unicorn. Now you understand over here that we just asked a Docker file, but it understands the context that as a software engineer, we might also need other things just apart from that Docker file to really achieve that goal, achieve the goal. So it understands the context around from such a large piece, such a large data from the internet, that it understands Docker file is related to some goals around actually running a project, right? So, and then for actually running a project, you need web servers, you need reverse proxy servers like Nginx, you need secrets to manage securely, especially in production environment. And it understands that in software engineering, there are multiple environments, production, development, etc. Right? And then it gives you step-by-step explanation of the whole code, and then it gives you the steps how to now implement this. For example, you can open a terminal or command prompt, you build that Docker image, it gives you that piece of command, and then you run the Docker container. Right? So that's how powerful. Let's extend this. I need Kubernetes manifest file for above project. Now I'm writing very vague statements here, right? Because it understands the context. It also understands the vague statements and relates it with the context that is going on. So we'll use a sample Kubernetes manifest file for deploying the Django project using Kubernetes. And then you have the whole code over here. And we can definitely, now let's say at this point, I just need to ask, what is alternative to Docker? And it gives you all the list that is alternative to Docker. And you can keep on asking questions. You can keep on deep dive. For example, who created Docker? You can ask why someone created Docker, when someone created Docker, what was before Docker, how deployments were happening before Docker, right? And you can really dig dive in the history and what could be. Let's ask one question. What could be the better version of Docker? Now here, since Chat GPT has a constraint of September 2021, we really need to understand that Chat GPT is trained on existing data and it cannot predict future. That's where the difference lies between an engineer and Chat GPT, because as engineers, as humans, we can think of future, we can think of what might be needed by consumers, and we can build more products like Chat GPT. And with this, I'll conclude this presentation and today's talk, and happy to hear any questions or any other things from all of you.
Yeah, we do have a few questions. So till then, people who are joining us on Zoom, please let us know if you have any questions. Please drop that in the chat, and I'll let you know if you have any questions from our live chat. So we have one question. So are there any limitations or challenges in using Chat GPT for software development that developers should be aware of?
Right. Right. So one of the limitations that I talked about is that you do not 100% rely on ChatGPT, right? It is a helping hand for you. Whatever answer ChatGPT provides it to you, you relate it with your project. You simply do not copy paste. You relate with your project. You relate with your other requirements, with the other services or the code that is running. It cannot give you perfect answer. That's the limitation, right? And no one can give you perfect answer, because for perfection, there are a lot of factors as well. It gives near perfect, but do not just copy paste as it is. So that would be one limitation, obviously. Another limitation right now is that it is based on the data only till September 2021. So all the technologies that have come after that, ChatGPT does not understand. So that's another limitation right now.
Yeah, sorry. So we have another question, and it says, how does Chat GPT handle natural language queries related to technical aspects of the software during the development phase?
All right. So as I discussed that one piece of example, right? So for example, you as a software engineer are working on an e-commerce system. All the example that I showed was not generic, like, hey, write me order system or write me this. It was a piece of the module, a piece of functionality that we as software engineers practically do in our daily life in any company, right? So for example, if I'm working, let's say, in a company very similar to, let's say, BookMyShow, right? Over there, we might need a case to have ranking system, for example, that we need ranking of users who books the movie tickets most, who books costly movie tickets. So for example, let's say there are some parameters. Now there, to start, the base on how we build a ranking system. We can ask ChatGPT, hey, I need to build a ranking system for a movie ticketing based application. The parameters to include or calculate a rank would be number of tickets, the latest date when a ticket has been booked, the cost of a ticket, and the city, let's say. I give these 4 parameters. Based on that 4 parameters, it gives you certain code, a certain even a design, guidelines, suggestions, that this is how you can at least start thinking around building a ranking system. Now then you can say, okay, I have 1 crore users or 1 crore tickets right now in the database, and I'm expecting to generate 5,000 tickets per day. So for next whole year, considering these limitations or considering these specifications, suggest me the best way for the algorithm. So you can do that so that you provide the context or the scale. So that's how, as a regular day-to-day lives, you can even ask whatever you are doing in your company or whatever in your project. You can even ask that by providing some context. To not, as I gave the context about scale, it's a movie ticketing booking. So gave the context, gave them parameters, gave it parameters, and then it would definitely, in most of the cases, it would help you.
So one last question, Sumit, and that is, what are the potential cost saving associated with adopting Chat GPT for software development and development?
Sorry, can you repeat again the question?
So he's asking, are there any cost saving associated with adopting Chat GPT for software development and development?
Cost savings. Okay. All right. So let's say in DevOps, what kind of cost savings you would do? One cost saving would be so that could be a very, very generic, basic question to ChatGPT. That let's say let's say incur $4,000 a month of expenses. How would you suggest? What would you suggest to cut down the savings? And then it would give you the best practices. Anyone or people who in the world who have been into DevOps, it will give the best practice. Okay, for example, one, you should check whether you really need a server up and running. Check whether you should close or shut down the server when you are not required. Check whether you are not over specify the specification as per your application. For example, your application might need just 2 GB RAM. You have a 8 GB RAM running server. So it gives you the best practices. So with ChatGPT, for saving cost, if you do not know, you might know just 3 things to save cost. ChatGPT can provide you 10 more things to save cost. And that would be your start and a baseline to thinking around more things on cost optimizations. So that's where it also helps.
So yeah, that's pretty much, I guess. And those were the questions that we usually had. And most of the questions that were asked, you already covered that in your presentation. So I think people who are actually having more questions, please do visit the recordings that we're going to share. So for that, you need to be a part of our Rebase Discord channel, which link is actually provided in the chat, guys. So please go there. And Sumit is also a mentor, one of our top mentors in our Discord community. So you can get one-to-one mentorship and also the live recording of this webinar in the Discord channel. So please go there and join in, have the access to all the webinars that we have done lately and access to the mentorship sessions that Sumit has done lately, right? And we have made a LinkedIn post about the session, and we are also live. So if any one of you guys have missed it, so please go watch the live on YouTube and also on LinkedIn. And if you want a detailed presentation of this webinar, we'll be sharing that in the Discord community. So please go join the community and let us know what do you really need from. And if you have any questions, you can actually follow Sumit on LinkedIn. He's pretty active on LinkedIn. He'll be more than happy to connect with you guys and answer questions and queries that you are actually struggling. So if you're exploring career opportunities, Recruit is hiring passionate developers. To check out the current openings at Recruit, please visit the page recruit-careers.io, and the link of that is in the chat soon. So if you are looking for a change, if you're a colleague or a friend of yours are looking for a change, you can go ahead and explore the openings at Recruit, and we'll make sure that we'll place in the Indian startups of the country. To stay updated with such events, follow us on social media, follow us on Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, and YouTube. And the recording of the session will be posted on YouTube. So till then, you can go have a live look at the live that we did. And if you want to connect with Sumit, please do reach out to him on LinkedIn. But if you want to have mentor sessions and you want to be mentored by Smith personally, so you have to be part of the Ravi-based Discord community. So the link is in the chat, guys. And let us know what's something that you loved about the session in the chat. And we would love to have Sumit for more such sessions. And thank you for being an amazing audience, and thank you for joining us on the weekend, showing your determination and learning. And a big round of applause to the audience on LinkedIn, Sumit, because we had over 70 and 80 plus audience over there watching us, and they were engaging, they were curious, and they were curious to learn more from you. So we would love to have an audience like that. And I think someone is asking the links. The link of the community is in the chat, guys. Just give me a moment. I'll be sharing the link. So if you're a developer with 1+ years of experience, you can join there and connect with the fellow experts, developers, and also get mentor sessions. And thank you once again, Sumit, for taking your time from schedule, and thank you for sharing such an amazing presentation. And we're very glad to have you.
Yep. Thank you, Hafsa. Thank you for the opportunity. And thanks everyone for joining.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Have a great weekend. Thank you so much.
Yep. Bye-bye.